Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today I'm going to do something extremely different. It's not really a TA video at all. It's just to clear the air. And one of the big things that I've been noticing is, and I'm sure you've noticed it too, and you can tell me in the comments if this is true or false. But most people, I would say like 99% of all people, I don't care who you follow, they all say crypto is not a security, right? Bitcoin is not a security. XRP is not a security. Theta is not a security. And that's true. I don't think they're securities either, right? It seems like the crypto industry thinks a lot of the S coins could be and are securities, but the broader market thinks that, you know, their coin is not a security. And I have to agree. Yeah, that's true. There is not a security. And that there's this nastiness about securities. It's not a security. It's not a it's like they can't stand the fact that it is a security, right? But really it isn't. But you know what here's the funniest part. Especially I'm talking about the Bitcoin guys. Now, Bitcoin is probably the least securities out of all of them. And they cannot, and if you ask any Bitcoin maxi, Bitcoin is not a security, they will go crazy if you call it a security. But the funniest part is they're cheering for a Bitcoin security. And you go, what are you talking about? A Bitcoin ETF. What do you think an ETF is? It's a security. So what are they talking about? I'm confused. Like a Bitcoin is not a security. It can't be a security. We don't like securities because that would ruin crypto. Securities will ruin crypto. We can't have it under the SEC. Meanwhile, they're in the background cheering on a Bitcoin ETF. They say it's going to be great for Bitcoin. More money into Bitcoin. More people get to trade it. More. My bag's going to get pumped, right? I got X amount of Bitcoins, and if a Bitcoin ETF comes out, my bags are going to get pumped. Meanwhile, they say, oh, Bitcoin's not a security. You're right. So here's the problem. It's the hypocrisy, right? I agree with them on all the fronts, but I'm just pointing out how funny it is, how it's ridiculous, right? Bitcoin is not a security. I agree. I don't think crypto should be labeled as securities. I think they should be, labeled as what they are, right? Like Bitcoin is a store of value. Is it a currency? Is it a commodity? That's not for me up to decide. But is it a security? No, I don't think so. And I believe it's not. But what they're trying to do here, see the problem that I have is the Bitcoin maxis. They don't want Bitcoin to be a security, but they don't realize that a Bitcoin ETF is the SEC and Wall Street and the big central banks. That's basically the death of Bitcoin. I'll give you an example. Remember back in December of 2017 when Bitcoin hit $20,000, everybody was crapping themselves like, "Oh my goodness, like how is this possible?" It went from less than $1,000 all the way up to 20,000. It was the biggest thing. They were talking about the tulip mania. It was a massive, massive run, something never seen before in history. And then what happened? The Bitcoin futures came out. Remember that? And what happened after that? The price of Bitcoin just collapsed, right? Steve Mnuchin and the Trump administration, I believed at the time, but even before that, it was in the works, right? To come out with a futures, right? So basically, the moral of what I'm saying here is, if it's a Bitcoin futures, if it's the futures um, index, right, or if it's an ETF index, what that means is basically it allows Wall Street and the central banks and the big institution to come in to control the price. That's what it means, right? But Bitcoin is supposed to be decentralized. It's supposed to be a cryptocurrency. It's supposed to be not a security. But, you know, it's funny how the Bitcoin maxis are cheering for a BTC security or a BTC ETF, the Bitcoin ETF, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. I can't wait. It's gonna pump the price. And it might do that. I think it could. I think it will. But that's not the point. The point is why are they cheering for something that they don't want to happen? Isn't that kind of, I don't know if it's because they're not educated, right? I'm not sure. I mean, you could just go to Google. Is an ETF a security? Yes. An exchange traded fund ETF is a security. ETFs are a type of security that combines the flexibility of stocks with the diversification of mutual funds, right? An ETF is a basket of investments, blah, 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 right? I don't have to get into it. But what they're trying to do with Bitcoin, right, is there's two things, right? You have the honest people out there, the honest institutional investor who wants to add it to their portfolio because they recognize how valuable it is as a store of value, competing with the US dollar and the downfall of the fiat central banking currency system, the system that is so corrupt, right? And that's understandable. The flip side to it is you have the not so honest institutional central banker who wants their JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs brothers, right, to jump on. And so that basically an ETF is like a package for them to further manipulate the price. You know how they go, manipulation, manipulate, the price comes down, manipulate. If you think it's manipulated now, just wait until this ETF comes out. Because basically an ETF allows certain people, not you, not me, right? Are you going to be trading an ETF? Probably not. Am I? No. What do? We go to an exchange, right? Binance, Coinbase, BitTrue, whatever exchange you use, right? Or a spot exchange, right? You go on the exchange and you trade it. And that's what it's for, right? But an ETF, it's kind of hard to do that with, it's kind of hard. If I have $1 billion in cash, it's kind of hard for me to go on Coinbase to buy Bitcoin, right? I don't think my order would be filled. Remember how I talk about liquidity and things like that? In order to fill a price, things have to happen, right? Certain things have to happen. So I just wanted to bring that up. This, if you didn't understand, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm just saying what it is, right? A Bitcoin ETF is basically is like a different type of Bitcoin security, right? So in other words, a Bitcoin ETF is a Bitcoin security. It's packaged as a security. A Bitcoin ETF is packaged as a security. And why would that be good or bad? Well, it's bad because they can, manipulate the price. Like if I go back here to 2017 right here, I believe this is when the ETF came out. Or I'm sorry, the futures, right? Look we had this beautiful run up. The futures came out and it dumped the price. Now, that, in my opinion, was a blessing in disguise. I think that needed to happen because if that never happened, this thing would have just continued to just go insane, right? And I think because the dollar and things like that. So the futures came out, which allowed big money to short the price so that it can dump down, right? So an ETF, if I'm a Bitcoin maxi and I say, yes, I hold Bitcoin, it's going to 100,000, the BTC ETF is coming out and it's going to pump the price and it's going to be a good thing. And you're right, I think so too. But you have to understand, things are not always what they seem, right? If the SEC or any government agency approves something, it's normally because they were paid off, right? For example, like certain things don't get passed, certain companies, right? If you're not in the club, then you don't exist, basically, right? But Bitcoin is too big, right? It's too big, it's too broad, it's too popular for a lot of people. Like, for example, BlackRock, right? Everybody knows BlackRock, the largest asset fund manager in the world, right? So they have a lot of clients. And without those clients, BlackRock is nothing, right? So those clients are calling BlackRock, hey, BlackRock, I want my Bitcoin. Sorry, it's not regulated. We can't offer it to you. Well, then I'm just going to go find somewhere where it is. Okay. Don't leave. I'm going to get it approved. Don't worry. So what does BlackRock do? They're in their central banks. They call up Gary Gensler at the SEC. Hey, Gary, we need this BTC ETF approved. And Gary says, sorry, I'm a Goldman Sachs boy. I'm a central banker. I can't have a BTC ETF approved because, it's going to make Bitcoin more popular. Yes. But BlackRock says, yes, but my clients need it and my clients want it. And then Gary's like, well, maybe we can do something where we can, for example, how many times have they sent for an ETF? Deny, delay. You know what they're doing? They're changing the rules. They're saying, well, this is not going to work, right? They're rigging it in their favor is what I'm trying to say. And you may say, well, that's just speculation. That's just wild Yes, that's true. This is my opinion. I could be totally wrong. Everybody in Washington can be as good as a saint, right? They could be good religious people who have your back, who do anything for you, or they're doing it for their own agenda, right? But what I'm saying is, I'm not saying a Bitcoin ETF is going to be bad. I'm not saying it's going to be good. What I'm saying is, just be aware if that it gets approved, it's mostly going to be in their favor, not your favor, right? So that's what I'm saying. Like, just be cautious of all the hype, right? There's a lot of hype around it. And that's what makes me sort of nervous, right? Because when a lot of people are hyping it up and, saying that it's going to happen, sometimes the opposite occurs, right? But I think eventually it will happen. The reason why is because the SEC have basically cleared their calendar in order to, hash out all these Bitcoin ETFs, right? And I believe some of those ETFs are being placed with good intentions, but I believe like certain ones could be been there to be placed with bad intentions. For example, if a central bank doesn't like Bitcoin, right? And we all know they don't. From the beginning, Bitcoin came out. They mocked it. They ridiculed it. They said they said all these horrible things, and now they can't do that anymore. So they have to pretend like it's a good thing, right? Oh, it's the innovation of blockchain technology and this and that. But deep inside, they hate it. Why? Because it's competition. If you're the central bank of all central banks, do you want your clients dollars in the bank, or do you want those dollars in Bitcoin, right? If you're Wells Fargo or JP Morgan or whoever, do you want dollars in your system, or do you want dollars in Bitcoin? You want dollars in your system. So if Bitcoin continues to grow and grow and grow, that's dollars that are being subtracted from the central banking system, converted from USD to BTC. They don't want that. They don't like that, right? So what do? They got to figure out how they can take advantage of it. And an ETF is one way you can do that. So there you go. That's my thoughts on the whole thing. I'm not, like I said, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm just saying it's a thing, right? It's always not what it seems to be. So now if you had a gun to my head and said, hey, do you want this Bitcoin ETF or not? You have to answer the question. I would say yeah. And why would I see that? Why would I say yeah? Because it's going to help further crypto along, right? And that's why the Bitcoin maxis are doing it, right? I'm sure some of them understand the evilness behind the intentions of an ETF, but I'm sure they understand that if I can get on Fox Business or, those mainstream media outlets, and I can say Bitcoin ETF, you better buy now before that ETF comes out. Bitcoin pumps the price, and then rotation into the altcoins occurs, right? Then what does that do? That helps me out. That pumps my bags. That makes me happy. So Do I think it's going to be short lived? It's hard to say. And that's why, you got to follow the channel and follow the updates, because I've given a lot of ideas and different, bearish ideas, bullish ideas, and basically they all boil down to when, right? It all boils down to time, So, for example, one of my ideas is this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is A. Now we're in B. We're going to come down for C. Another idea is this is a rise, crash, retrace. We're going down for reaccumulation. Then we go sideways. Then we go, right? A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we continue to go, right? So there's a lot of different ideas. My main idea is this is a rise, crash, retrace. We're going to maybe get up to 47, maybe 50, but then I think we're going to turn around and we're going to go sideways. And we're just going to basically, build bases on top of bases, just like back over here. So you can see, here's a base, here's another base on top of it, here's another base on top of it, right? And that's sort of what I'm thinking is going to happen. Something to that effect, but more so of a reaccumulation phase, right? So how does this Bitcoin ETF come into play? Is it going to change the chart drastically? No, I don't think so. The chart is already printed, right? It's not like they can change it completely, but they can sort of manipulate the order books and they could do certain things, right? And it's not to necessarily kill Bitcoin. It's to, benefit themselves, right? And it usually, if they get benefited, a lot of people get hurt. So, usually it's like you have 10% winners and then 90% losers, right? But if you're a hodler, you don't lose. That's why I say hodl. Don't worry about trading. Just worry about not worrying about it. You know what I mean? So that's basically all I have to say for this video. So look, when it comes down to a Bitcoin ETF, I just hope they do the right thing. I hope they do the honest approach. I hope they trade it with integrity, right? I hope, because the SEC is not known for integrity, right? I mean, look what they did to Ripple, the company. Look what they did to FTX, right? They knew FTX was bad, but they didn't do anything about it. They don't care about the investor. They care about their image and their control, and they care about, wins in court, right? The more wins in court, the more money they get. The more money they get, the more corrupt they get, right? So it's all about the money. That's what it comes down to. It's not about protecting me or protecting you. It's about protecting themselves, just like the government. It wants to grow itself. It wants to expand itself. And it wants to force itself upon all of us and basically benefit from us, which means, a positive and a negative, right? A negative and a negative, right? If they're positive, it's taking away from us somehow, some way. But that's one of the reasons why I chose to make this channel, is simply to keep your head straight, right? Because they play an emotional game, right? On the media, and the banks own the media, right? So if they're out there hyping Bitcoin ETF, it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, right? And people pile into it, right? Just be cautious, because look, we're already in retracement levels. This is the danger area. This is the danger area. This is either we make it or we come down and we die, or we come down and we reaccumulate, right? So it's just odd to me that they're siphoning this Bitcoin ETF right at the exact retracement level. That's what's concerning. So if people jump in and maybe the price pumps a little bit more, but then it comes all the way back down to that 30K area, because I believe 30K will be tested again, right? but maybe we go up to 50K first, 47, 50K, then we come back down to 30K. Watch the previous Bitcoin videos. You'll know what I'm talking about. So the Bitcoin ETF at this level is, it makes me think, what are they trying to do here? Are they trying to get people in order to, sell and distribute on them so that they're left holding the bag, and then the people, innocent people, are left holding Bitcoin that's underwater, right? So, basically what I'm saying is, not financial advice, but I would not be buying Bitcoin here. I'm not saying it's not going to go up. It could go up 20, 30% on a Bitcoin ETF, and that would be great. And then at that point, for example, a lot of you know this term: buy the rumor, sell the news, right? So what do? The rumor is what? There's a Bitcoin ETF. It's coming out. It's coming soon. It's coming soon, right? So what is that? That's a rumor. Rumor has it that a Bitcoin ETF is coming. So what do? You buy, right? But then once the news comes out, then what happens? Then that's when what? That's when the herd buys. That's when the masses say, oh, it's finally here. I better go buy it. And then what happens after that? It dumps, right? So I'm just saying, my channel is here just to say, hey, be careful, right? I've been burned many times. I know what it feels like. I don't want people to buy into this thing, right? Now, it's fine to do it beforehand, right? Like, is there anything wrong with buying Bitcoin right now? No, I don't think so, because I think it looks like, to me, this is bullish consolidation right here. Obviously, we're in a range. Anything can happen, A, B, C, and then we go, right? Or, we're continuing to range, then we go, or we can just come down and back test this area. But to me, I think the ETF is coming soon. A lot of people are projecting January, February, right? So what is that going to do? I think it will pump the price, but I think it's going to be short-lived. And what I'm saying is, if the Bitcoin ETF comes out, let's say on a Monday, that doesn't mean buy Bitcoin on Monday. That means you should have bought it 2 Mondays ago. You know what I'm saying? So, and at that point, why would I even be buying Bitcoin anyway? I'm more focused on the altcoins. I think the altcoins have so much more potential than Bitcoin does. So, yeah, I'll leave it at that. I'll probably get an altcoin video out sometime, maybe tomorrow. Still holiday season for me. So, taking some time off, enjoying myself. But, I love making videos, and I like, sharing what I have to say. And if you value my opinions, right? I never come out and be in a cocky and say, these are facts. This is what's got to happen. No. I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong. But this is just what I feel. This is from past experience. This is from me, thinking about what they're trying to do. It's because it's usually not about the news, right? It's always about the narrative. And, if I can protect just one person from going down into their little game, right? Because what do they like to do? They like to hype it up, and then they like to show the news, right, that it's here, and then they like to take it away, right? So, you want to play it a little smart. So maybe for me, not saying you should do this, but for me, here's the thing. If the Bitcoin ETF comes out and we get a big pump, I'm taking profits. I am taking profits, because at that point, nobody will be. Are you kidding me? You're taking profits? The Bitcoin ETF just came out. It just came out yesterday. Why would you take profits? We still got so much more to go, because that's what usually happens, right? Price likes to come back down, back test, bullishly reset, and then continue. Or it could actually come all the way back here and back test this. and then continue, right? But at the end of the day, look at this pump. Here's the pump, and we're still in this bullish wave. So 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe we get 5. So using Elliott wave, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I believe the Bitcoin ETF is going to come out. We're going to get this 5th wave. Everybody's going to be buying in on this 5th wave. And that's when you want to be, deleveraging yourself, getting out of the market. Now, this doesn't mean sell your altcoins. I'm not saying that. If you're a hodler and you're hodling XRP or Theta or whatever, I wouldn't sell. I mean, that's just me. Because the reason why is because look where Bitcoin is, right? Bitcoin is way the heck up here. But like, for example, Theta and those coins, they're down here. And XRP is way down here. So, there's no reason for me to do that. But I'm just letting you know, if you're buying into the Bitcoin ETF, this is just a video not to say I know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. But I'm just saying be careful. Just be cautious. Don't always get sucked into the hype. There's a lot of YouTube videos out there, a lot of influencers talking about the Bitcoin ETF, saying it's going to be a good thing. I think overall it will be a good thing. But just understand there are bad people out there who like to twist things, right? I'm not talking about the YouTube guys. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about who they're feeding off of, right? Which is the media. And who's the media feeding off of? The higher ups, the corporations, and who's that? And then who's higher than that? The banks, right? It's all about the banks. The banks are the kings. They are everything, and they control everything. So, and just think about what crypto is. Crypto is competition for the banks, especially DeFi, right? A bank is what? It's finance. That's what a bank is. It's a financial system, right? But what do you think DeFi is? It's a decentralized financial system. They don't want that. They want it centralized. They want to control it, right? They don't want decentralization. They want centralization, right? So they understand, well, crypto's too big. We can't stop it. So what do? We have to manipulate it. And how do we do that? We have our little instruments, the Bitcoin futures, the Bitcoin ETF, right? And at the end of the day, it is what it is. So we have to play the game that they are giving us, but just know not to always follow the herd, but to look at things objectively, right? Always look at it objectively. So I leave you with that. At the end of the day, I think everything's going to work out in our favor if so long as you continue to DCA, continue to hodl, continue to play it smart, don't get sucked into things, right? Just always be ahead of what others are doing, right? So, and that doesn't mean, trade in and trade out. It just means be aware. Being aware is, being conscientious. I think that's how you say it, right? So you want to be conscious about things that they're pumping out there, because a lot of times it's always or usually not what they seem. So we'll see what happens, but I will catch you guys on the next one, and I'll probably, like I said, get an altcoin video out soon. So until then, take care and happy holidays and happy new year.